Hello, everyone, and it's an amazing day out there, not only in this reality, but overall, and where we are going. We are at such an amazing time in this ascension, and as a result, what is occurring and what will become more prominent is a further detachment from what you may call the matrix or the old realities. And as you detach from the old, you attach to your new empowerment yourself. And along with that comes what we refer to as sovereignty. But it's more than that, it's a divine sovereignty. It's in taking back more of your power, but it's also standing in what you are and openly, uh, to whatever degree you may, declare it upon these realities and towards, the corporate matrix and conglomeration, if you will, as it tears down. So essentially, your divine sovereignty, it is very important to you. And yes, it's an ego aspect that you need to identify with. It's a good ego with that. It's your identity. And for whoever it resonates with, what is currently happening, some behind the scenes and some not behind the scenes, is the sovereignty matter is coming up. It's becoming more prevalent upon these timelines, and there are reasons for that. And one of the most important reasons for that is because it is part of the ascension as well. And essentially, the ascension is taking back your power and making the great change and not being ruled by the darkness and the elite and what have you. And part of that process, while we are still here in the lower dimensions and where we are making the rapid change on these new timelines, is, taking a place within the lower timelines that states who and what you are. And part of that is putting a material contract in place, not only to separate yourself from the control of the darkness, but to empower yourself much further. In this sense, when you, for example, basically, when you bring into creation by writing a divine sovereignty decree of owning yourself and your divinity. What it then does, it supersedes and takes power and will take a precedence over all lesser laws. And it's important to know that what you are on your way back to full divinity and getting your memory back is that you are something that is much more above these lower dimensions and the darkness. And, as part of your journey going back to what you are and standing in your full divine truth and light, it is a letting go of the dark aspects within you first. As we know, it's a procedure, but then you come to recognize that there are dark aspects on the outside that are there that do not have your best interests in mind. So during the course of your spiritual development and going, let's say, going back home, on your way back home to knowing who and what you actually are, part of the process is recognizing that. So after you contend with a certain degree of darkness within yourself and negativity, then what occurs is you are showing it outside of you. And the reason that this process occurs in this way is because you are a co-creator and you're showing what is out there that needs to be, let's say, fixed up to the good. So it's all part of the process. Yeah. And you'll see the tree of life is right behind I. Love that. Beautiful. Um, So basically, again, the divine sovereignty is instrumental in moving forward to so many degrees with this ascension, and it is coming to the forefront. Now, what I can share with you over, let's say, perhaps the last decade or even further, the sovereignty movements behind the scenes, unbeknownst to the most part to the public, were growing, and the unity um, was occurring very rapidly, exponentially rapidly now. As we kept coming through in time, it kept expanding. So we're at such a point now that I and many others feel very comfortable at beginning to share the inner workings of the divine sovereignty, and what it entails and what it actually means to each one of you. Um, and it's also a material, concrete document that you attach with this as well. To publicly proclaim or declare your sovereignty. I'll be blunt. Where the elitists no longer rule and dictate you and tell you what to do and what you say, and restrict you to ridiculous debt and all of these things. But at the same time, when the sovereignty, divine sovereignty, and sovereignty, itself, as it keeps coming into the timelines now more prominent, at that same time, the systems are imploding, the elitist systems, and all of the corruption you are seeing. So what is occurring during this transition, while that is imploding, in divine sovereignty and sovereignty is coming on the scene, it's temporarily going to put a stalemate more so into any resistance from the darkness, especially towards individuals. So it's a very important tool, and it's instrumental uh, in our progress in this ascension. Um, so, having said that, for whoever it resonates with, in the near futures, I will and we will and others will be going more in depth into this. And for any that it resonates with, as I said, if you feel inclined or compelled to be a little bit more informed on what your divine sovereignty actually is, then I strongly suggest to get as familiar with it as you can on a simplistic basis or a general basis, anyhow. And this is also to let you know that there are many things already in place with sovereignty. And it has come to what was behind the scenes has become so ready that it's also now busting through into the timelines. And for simple indications, I'd like to refer to an example again here in Canada, where Kevin Annett is actually attempting or will run as a individual, but representing the sovereignty people. And also with that, there is what we call up in Canada the CPU movement, which also is a form of sovereignty of the people taking back their consent from the government. And essentially, the basics with the CPU is upon receiving 51% of Canadians signing up and standing together in unity, then the way governments are set up, the government no longer has the support, and then the power is given back to the people. So, just another indication, but also look at the US if you wish, with, what Trump is doing, what JFK attempted to do in the early 60s. this is the same thing, to expose, the real darkness that kept humanity suppressed, and to also clean the swamp or drain the swamp. I believe is the term what Trump and Trump followers and ones that are awakened that know what's going on. That is the term that they use. Drain the swamp, and that is such an important part of this process as well, because during draining the swamp, what you're actually doing is on many levels taking out the resistance. You may look at Epstein and what's going on there and the affiliation to the Clintons and Obama and all that political ridiculous things. I say it's ridiculous, but it's very important. It happened in what is being shown to each one. Nevertheless, again, using that as an example, what it's doing for the masses, the ones that are, not awakened, but for everyone, it is revealing that it is very true what all of the what were labeled conspiracy theorists were saying. So it's all being confirmed in these actual timelines, in these now. So it's no refuting nor denying it, even from unawakened ones. When if they sit down and look at it, they can see it's very true that we are amidst great change. And again, the only reason why all of the corruption is being revealed is because the light is in behind that, pushing it to the surface. Because where we're going here and where we are right now, what we are building, the integrity of what we are building has to have full merit. It has to be completely genuine. And we cannot have temporary governmental systems that are taking care of things here in the future. We cannot have them foundationed to the degree of the deceit and everything that they are that are not for the people. And and the greed is a big one. So for us to create the new, we need it cleaned out, and this is what's occurring upon the planet. And again, with what Trump's doing in these sealed indictments, it will and it does connect to everything globally, the intentional dark agenda, what they had, and much more. Again, we don't need to get into that. This thing is about, this live is about divine sovereignty. But let me get back on track. However, it's great for us to understand and say that, yeah, we'll have an actual piece of paper that proclaims our divine sovereignty. But one of the most important uses for this at this time is, while we're still here taking out the darkness, what we wish to do is to take out the distractions of the darkness upon certain key light workers and overall the Ascension community. And uh, I'm going to be frank on this. I'm going to be blunt, I guess. Yeah. Once you have these proper decrees, what it does is the Jesuit, the elites back down. And what you do is you protect yourself from any of the outside darkness from trying to distract you and trying to suppress you. So you further empower yourself. Not only are these decrees a written material confirmation, so your most on these times to exist with you. It is a universal contract, a universal law contract which supersedes anything upon the surface. It is your divine contract that protects you while you're here against the darkness or any interference with it. Now, having said this, many of you have been subjugated to the darkness to know that there is an outside resistance, the outside darkness. I'm here to tell you that we don't die, and none of you, again, were in no way of any harm with it. It's not how it works. However, many of you were also intentionally subjugated to be able to see the darkness, to confirm for yourself that yes, there was an outside resistance against you. And again, for many reasons. And without that knowledge of knowing that there was an actual culprit out there against you that was not of God, not of light, not of goodwill, then you know why such instruments as a sovereignty um, decree that is written by you and sealed by you, why it may be very beneficial for you and also may be required for some of you in this time. But we do not stop there with the sovereignty um, decrees. It's being introduced at this time, and as I mentioned previously, behind the, let's say, behind the scenes, unbeknownst to all, there was great unity with some of these sovereignty movements that were kept kind of away. However, it is time for them to open up and share what they have in degrees uh, and in line with the sovereignty and how to protect yourself against the darkness. Now, you never need to have any fear and you don't need to really protect yourself. However, these papers are instrumental as a show of your strength and taking back your divinity. So I'd rather say you don't need them for protection, but you do need them for owning your divine identity. It, it establishes and fixates into these realities who and what you actually are, and that no, you're not here to take any shit from the darkness or any of the negative ones. No, none of that. You're here to assist with humanity like all of us and taking humanity out of the savage clutches of the dark. And you know, we won this battle. We we won in 2012, and many of us are just here playing the roles and acting it out on the timeline so it does get recorded into a history for future timelines. So we are changing history and we are writing also new histories, her story, if you wish to, with this. So there's so much going on and it is very important and significant. All right, I think if you can hear it, I hear a helicopter. So let's kiss them and give them a peace sign. Yeah. And many of you know about Black Ops and all of that, and it's hilarious. And as I said, you know, in the past, they're very afraid of I, and they're very afraid of you. So you know, once one awakens to a stage when one knows that there is the actual darkness out there and that the world here was not as they thought it was, that there is actually a dark agenda. Once you reach a certain stage in your awakening and coming back into your divinity, well, that's when the darkness becomes more afraid. So, for example, in the past, you might not know that they existed. But once you begin awakening and your consciousness expanding, then the dark themselves become more fearful, and because they're afraid, then they start to show you more things to try to intimidate you to establish control. For example, you start awakening and four or five black helicopters come over. Well, their attempt is to make you afraid because they control you by the fear. And what it does, it actually suppresses you and lowers your veil as well. And that is one way that they control by the energy. And in my teachings and many others, you know, the basics is to get rid of fear, because this is part of your empowerment and it's also part of your process back to your divine sovereignty. to be able to stand fully in your light and to be unwavered by any darkness. And again, you need to know that the darkness is only in the lower densities. They are quarantined here. They cannot go where you can go, and you are above the darkness, every one of you. And what we are doing is giving you the keys and showing you the way to empower yourself and to join with all of your brothers and sisters in unity, and all of the star seeds, everyone to join together for the better cause and for the good of all, for humanity, for the generations to come. And so, pretty well, I guess I've said pretty well enough on this subject. And to sum it up, it's what I am doing right at this point is beginning to release some of that information to you, because, as you know, I will allude to certain things ahead of time and preparation, to get your thoughts perhaps in that direction. And some of you, recognize it when it resonates, if it's for you to begin doing your homework in that area, and because you know what's coming. Your divine homework, of course. With this, we have the power to just take ourselves out of this in the blink of an eye. We have that power. However, we're here again to do a mission, that it is a transitional process. So many of you I know are empowered to very high degrees, and recently, because of the recent subsequent shifts, it has empowered so many even further to some extremes than what they were before, with gifts being enhanced, new abilities, um, a higher cognitive consciousness with that more so goes into what you would call super consciousness in some areas, being, for example, what I had integrated. I was in a store the other day. In the past, I could read anyone by looking at them and just opening up my channel to read if they had sicknesses, within their physical vessel, what their energy was. But what occurred the other day is, when I was in a store, I did not even need to look at them and put my focus there, that it just come rushing right in, all of these downloads of what all of their sicknesses were and where they were at. So having said that, I mentioned last night that I need to, because of the enhancement also of this physical vessel, and that aspect and all the gifts that pertain to that have heightened very much. So I need to do my own calibration to calibrate that, and it needs to be done in such a way that was not done before. We are entering the higher dynamics of energy, and energy is all creation. And as we raise up into a higher vibration, the way that might have assisted you before may no longer work. You may have to devise a new method or a new technique to keep your energetic fields in check, and to keep them balanced. So there's much going on with this, and I can assure you that I've been getting in the last few weeks reports of that, and reports of ones also seeing erratic things in their own experiences through the days. And part of the reason why that is, it can become, if you become strengthened in the blink of an eye, a very measurable degree, instantly that has an impact on your reality right around you. Because again, everything is energy, and if you intensify your light energy to a higher polarity of love and positive, because of what you are, it has a greater impact on your reality now, because you are the beacons of the light, and this is one of your tools in doing that and creating the change. And you have so many tools that you can utilize. And, in that regards, in the past, I have put out um, a 6-page report upon your gifts. Let me say for many of you now that it's time that perhaps in the near future that I revise that a bit, or perhaps not, because so many are getting their own memories back that merely you only needed to be introduced to some of your gifts to get you on track to develop them. And I know many of you have, and it's so I'm so grateful to see, so many of you grow in that respect. And I don't say this in a condescending way. I say it in a compassionate, loving way. I am here to assist, as others know. And yes, there are teachers here to assist, to make everyone teachers. And that's how it works. If everyone had all the pieces of the puzzle, we would not be here. We're here to assist each other, to purvey the information and the gifts with that. In the least, of course. So, with the sovereignty, a good thing, I will be, let's say, taking this, this team will be taking the sovereignty thing a little bit further, perhaps on an individual basis of assisting ones that are ready. We're still compiling information. We're also getting more educated on it ourselves at this time, being prepared for the near futures. And so just to let you know what is coming as well. And we'll give you more of the reasons why you may wish to um, do your own sovereignty proclamation or decree. And everyone does what they wish. It might only be one of you that wants to do it, or it could be a lot. It doesn't matter. Our job as a team, and my divine job here, is to share with you any vehicle that may be useful in your process going forward. And I can assure you the sovereignty uh, proclamation is one of those instruments, and it is taking a main prominent position within the timelines now. It's being more and more seated and integrated, being put in place for the, because it will be accessed and utilized by more in the exponentially rapidly expanding futures and timeline. So, uh, so again, it's in alignment, the sovereignty proclamation, with again empowering yourself, but also stabilizing what you are, and in preparation for the near futures as well. And during the course of uh, the sovereignty, when we began, everyone is to begin sharing this with others as well. And an old adage that does hold true is that knowledge is power. And in this sense, this sort of knowledge is your light power, it's your power. So I like to say that. And so it's very, very great. So just touching on that right now. So I'm going to cut this off. We have other things to do, and I'm always busy. This divine work recently for all of us is we're on like 24/7 with this, and we try to put our focus and our attention to the degree we can into the areas where we need to put it as we keep going along. And a lot of what we are doing also is interacting with individuals and sharing and assisting and empowering all, so that we're all up, within the same power and strengths, and again, by having the knowledge and also being in the proximity uh, of others that have advanced, there is immediate beneficial energetic kickbacks from that, if you will. Fringe benefits too. You could look at it, but you all have them. And what we do is actually reintroduce some of you to them, and we also activate a little bit to a degree for any that divinely needs it, and get everyone online with going back to your power, your love, and where it's so important, your love and your divine virtue of what you are, and to not, let's say, loving. There comes a degree, now this is a higher thing for some of you. There comes a time, and especially in this now, that more of you will understand the importance of just pure love, a step up from the unconditional love. And the unconditional love was a part of your process as well, to love everything unconditionally, even the dark, so that it would set you free to rise to the level of pure love. Now, it's important to rise to the level of pure love, because pure love, there is not a condition, and it's not unconditional. It just is, and it's the most powerful force in a human vessel as your creational force. And as you have become a stronger creator and are able to manifest, I got a call to take. Um, what you don't wish to be doing is hold on. Hello. Yes. I'm great. I'm just doing a live. Can I call you right back in about 5 minutes, please? Oh, thank you so much. Much love. Okay, bye now. Yeah, so it's right at the important part, huh? So, where you are given more of your co-creational powers and your manifestation abilities, the last thing you wish to be doing is giving a love aspect to the darkness. They are really something we are here to fight. So the least we empower them, we need to recognize them. That's part of the process everyone needs to go through. But for ones of you that have done that, know it, you're up here at a different level, and your compassion in respect to unconditional love becomes a wiser compassion, where you don't empower something that is actually contradictory to what you are. And also, it's something that you came here not only to overpower for yourself, but to overpower for others. That's why you're still all here. So, having said that, the ones of you that feel and know that you're at these levels, just pure love, what you wish for the future is what I suggest, absent of any of that darkness. And know that uh, the if you love a darkness, you're going to keep it into your reality if you love it unconditionally. So some of you are at that point that you don't wish to, you may not wish to energize that. And I know the right ones of you will get that and know what I'm speaking about. And in time, everyone does get that when you reach those levels. But what I am sharing with you now, that many are at those levels of recognizing the difference between unconditional love and love, because we have risen so high in our prowess, and also the vibratory timelines. So great. Okay, I'm going to let you go with this, and I thank you so much. And yeah, this is an introductory to what will also be occurring here in the futures. And having said that, any of you that know that the darkness are out there and may feel that you are being attacked by them, just stand in your love and hold tight and keep connected to the prime creator of light, and assure that you keep connected with that aspect, and know that there is no harm to come to you, that if you're being attacked, learn as much from it as you can, become better informed, then you can share with others later that may be incurring some of the dark antics, and they become familiar with it, and they can more readily identify these techniques of the dark and the antic, and the techniques of the dark and the antics of the dark, so that they can quickly overpower the darkness and master it, and turn the tables. And that's what we're doing. It's what we're here to do, and it's all about empowering the individual and then uniting in your teams, and in full unity, really, and doing your divine work, whatever you are called to do. And so that's it. So love you. Many winks, and beautiful tree of life. Look, it's huge, huh? It's growing bigger every day, so it's beautiful. So have a great one. I love you, and love and light, and we'll speak in the near futures. Have an awesome day, an amazing day. Thank you. Bye now.